In 1976, a cardiologist named Dr. Makoto Suzuki moved to Okinawa and began a medical investigation that would evolve into a study spanning more than 5 decades. He wasn't looking for a miracle. He was looking for data. What he found was a statistical impossibility, or at least something that looked like one. The 3 leading killers in the West, coronary heart disease, stroke, and cancer, occur in Okinawans with the lowest frequency in the world. For coronary heart disease specifically, roughly 3 times fewer males and more than 4 times fewer females died from the condition in Okinawa compared to equivalent populations in the United States. To put that in human terms, imagine a city of 100,000 people. Now remove 3/4 of the women who would have died from heart disease. That is Okinawa. Many of the centenarians that the OCS has interviewed were born near the end of the 19th century, when average life expectancy in Japan was only slightly greater than 40 years. That these individuals lived decades longer, surviving infectious diseases, natural disasters, and a world war that ravaged their island home, is remarkable. Today, Dr. Suzuki is in his 90s and remains the principal investigator of the Okinawa Centenarian Study, the most verified longevity project in human history. Since its inception, the study has included more than 3,000 Okinawan centenarians. We are now declassifying the Suzuki Audit, the 10 specific clinical anchors documented during more than 5 decades of hands-on examination. We are moving past the myths to look at the documented mechanisms of Okinawan longevity. There is also a stone marker in the northern village of Ogimi. It carries an inscription from the village elders that reads, "At 80, you are merely a youth. At 90, if the ancestors invite you into heaven, ask them to wait until you are 100, and then you might consider it." That is not poetry. That is a population speaking from lived experience. Anchor 1. The AMPK-activating, Green Tea. Suzuki observed a consistent morning ritual among the Okinawan elders, the consumption of Sanpin cha, Jasmine Green Tea, on an empty stomach. In the West, we treat morning beverages as comfort. In Okinawa, this ritual may be functioning at a cellular level. The significance lies in a polyphenol called EGCG, or epigallocatechin gallate. Research indicates that EGCG activates AMPK, the body's master energy sensor. Think of AMPK as a biological switch. When it is flipped, the body shifts from a state of growth and accumulation into a state of maintenance and repair. This pathway also inhibits the mTOR signaling route, which is a necessary precursor for autophagy, the process by which cells identify and break down damaged or dysfunctional components and recycle them. In practical terms, the body has 2 modes. It can build, or it can clean. Most Western lifestyles, with large meals eaten late and little fasting between them, keep the body permanently in building mode. The Okinawan morning ritual may be nudging the body toward cleaning mode before the first meal ever arrives. It is important to be precise here. The exact human dosage required to produce meaningful autophagic activity from green tea alone is still being actively researched. This is not a cure, but the directional evidence suggests that this morning ritual sets a daily metabolic tone for repair over growth, and across a lifetime, that cumulative signal may matter enormously. Anchor 2. The Anthocyanin Shield, Beni-Imo. While the Western world has spent decades fearing carbohydrates, the traditional Okinawan diet told a different story. The pre-1960s Okinawan diet relied on the Beni-Imo, the purple sweet potato, for the majority of its caloric intake. This was not a side dish, it was the foundation of the plate. The Beni-Imo is rich in anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for its deep violet color. What makes these compounds clinically significant is their documented ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, the protective membrane that shields the brain from most substances circulating in the bloodstream. Most antioxidants cannot do this. Anthocyanins can. In population studies, high consumption of these compounds is associated with lower markers of neuroinflammation, potentially acting as a neuroprotective layer against the oxidative stress associated with cognitive decline. Okinawans are also less likely than Westerners to develop dementia. And while no single food can be credited for this, the daily presence of anthocyanins in the diet across an entire lifetime is considered a contributing factor by researchers in the field. The beni imo is also low on the glycemic index despite being a starch, meaning it provides sustained energy without the sharp insulin spikes associated with refined carbohydrates. It is, by almost every metabolic measure, an exceptional food. Anchor 3. Caloric moderation. Hara hachibu. Suzuki documented a cultural practice so embedded in Okinawan life that it is spoken before meals like a mantra. Hara hachibu. Eat until 80% full. This is not a diet. It is a behavioral system that predates modern nutrition science by centuries, and it turns out to be extraordinarily precise. The low-calorie, phytonutrient-rich food choices and healthy eating habits of the Okinawans resulted in a naturally calorie-restricted population without malnutrition. The clinical significance of this restriction is linked to a hormone called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. In moderate levels, IGF-1 is essential for growth and repair. In chronically elevated levels, the kind produced by habitual overeating, it accelerates the rate of cellular aging. By stopping before the fullness signal arrives, Okinawans are preventing the hormonal overshoot that, in the West, is now considered one of the structural drivers of age-related disease. There is also a timing element at work. The brain's satiety signal lags approximately 20 minutes behind the stomach. By stopping at 80%, the Okinawan elder is essentially eating to where they will feel full, not to where they currently feel full. Over decades, this 20-minute discipline may represent millions of avoided calories and thousands of avoided insulin spikes. The arteries, it turns out, keep score. Anchor 4. The musculovenous pump. Modern cardiovascular research focuses heavily on the heart. The Suzuki Audit redirects our attention to the legs. The topography of northern Okinawa is a vertical environment. The village of Ogimi sits across steep, uneven volcanic terrain. Dr. Suzuki noted that the elders of this community engage in constant, low-grade climbing, not as exercise, but as the basic architecture of daily life. Going to the clinic, visiting a neighbor, tending a garden, every journey involves elevation. This activates the calf musculovenous pump, known in cardiology as the secondary heart. The calf muscles, when engaged against gravity, create a mechanical compression that forces deoxygenated blood from the lower extremities back up toward the chest. In populations that sit for the majority of the day, this pump is largely inactive. Blood pools in the lower limbs. Vascular resistance increases. The heart works harder. Okinawan supercentenarians displayed an exceptionally healthy aging phenotype, with coronary heart disease present in only 8% and cancer and diabetes not evident at all. The vertical environment of their daily lives is considered one contributing factor. They did not train for cardiovascular health, they lived inside it. Anchor 5. The Seiza alignment. In Okinawan homes, chairs are largely absent. The traditional practice of sitting on the floor in the seiza position, knees folded, weight distributed through the lower body, requires constant engagement of the core, hips, and legs. It is not a passive posture. What Suzuki's research highlights is not any single act of floor sitting, but the cumulative effect of a lifetime of floor-to-standing transitions. Every time an elder rises from the floor, they are performing what exercise scientists would recognize as a functional movement, one that tests balance, hip mobility, and lower body strength simultaneously. This is not incidental. The ability to rise from the floor without assistance is now used clinically as a predictor of all-cause mortality in older adults. The integrated nature of this movement is critical. Okinawan elders were not visiting a gym to maintain functional strength. They were maintaining it through the ordinary rhythm of their days. The body does not distinguish between deliberate exercise and necessary movement. It responds to the mechanical demand either way. Anchor 6. The circadian reset, the master clock. Suzuki identified a consistent pattern among the centenarians, a strict, if unintentional, adherence to natural light cycles. Rising with the sun, winding down with darkness, no artificial light disrupting the transition between the two. At the center of this system is a structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN, located in the hypothalamus of the brain. The SCN is the body's master clock. It governs the timing of nearly every hormonal cycle in the body, including the release of cortisol in the morning to initiate wakefulness and melatonin in the evening to prepare the body for sleep and cellular repair. When this clock is disrupted by artificial light, irregular sleep, or shift work, the hormonal timing falls out of synchrony. Cortisol rises at the wrong time. Melatonin is suppressed. The body's repair window shortens. Internal desynchronization is now a verified driver of systemic inflammation. The Okinawan lifestyle, built around the rhythms of an agricultural community with no electric light for most of the 20th century, kept the body's master clock precisely calibrated for the entirety of a very long life. Anchor 7. The cortisol buffer, the MOI. Every biological system we have examined so far, the metabolic markers, the mechanical pumps, the circadian clock, can be undermined by a single force: chronic stress. This is the finding that the Suzuki Audit treats as its most critical, and it is the one most consistently overlooked in Western longevity conversations. At the center of Okinawan social life is the MOI, a social support group that individuals join in childhood and remain part of for life. It is a guaranteed community, a social safety net with no conditions of membership. In a society where belonging is not something you have to earn or maintain, the baseline level of what researchers call survival stress remains consistently low. Research, notably by Nobel laureate Elizabeth Blackburn, suggests a direct link between chronic stress, elevated cortisol, and the accelerated shortening of telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of our DNA strands. Telomeres function like the plastic tips on shoelaces. As they shorten, the DNA they protect becomes increasingly vulnerable to damage and error. Chronic loneliness and the elevated cortisol it produces has been associated with faster telomere attrition. The MOI does not eliminate hardship. It does not make life easy. What it does is ensure that no Okinawan elder faces hardship alone. And in the body's stress response system, the difference between a supported difficulty and an unsupported one is measurable at the cellular level. Anchor 8. Ergothioneine, the mitochondrial nutrient. The Okinawan diet frequently includes shiitake and shimeji mushrooms, not as occasional additions, but as daily dietary staples. The compound of interest here is ergothioneine, often referred to by researchers as a longevity vitamin or a potent nutraceutical. What makes ergothioneine unusual is its delivery mechanism. Human cells contain a specific transporter protein, designated OCTN1, that exists for the sole purpose of importing ergothioneine directly to the mitochondria. The body does not build dedicated transport systems for compounds it considers unimportant. The existence of this transporter suggests that ergothioneine plays a fundamental role in cellular maintenance that science is still working to fully characterize. Its primary documented function is as an ultra-stable antioxidant, one that protects the mitochondria, the power plants of the cell, from oxidative DNA damage. Mitochondrial decline is now considered one of the primary drivers of biological aging. Higher blood levels of ergothioneine have been associated with decreased risk of cardiovascular events and all-cause mortality across long-term population studies. The Okinawan mushroom is not a supplement. It is a daily dietary investment in mitochondrial integrity. Anchor 9. Phytonutrient cardiovascular protection. The audit highlights a consistent feature of Okinawan domestic life: the kitchen garden. Bitter melon and mugwort are grown and consumed as regular parts of the diet and used in traditional therapeutic practice. Research indicates that bitter melon contains compounds with documented anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular protective properties. These are not vasodilators in the simple sense the word implies. The mechanism is more nuanced. involving modulation of inflammatory pathways that contribute to arterial damage over time. Mugwort, similarly, has a long history in traditional Okinawan medicine as both a dietary herb and a therapeutic plant used in practices such as moxibustion. What the Suzuki Audit identifies here is not a pharmacological breakthrough. It is a pattern, a population that has, for generations, integrated phytonutrient-rich plants into daily consumption, not as medicine taken during illness, but as food consumed in health. The preventive logic is quiet and cumulative. It does not announce itself. It simply works across a lifetime. Anchor 10. Purpose-driven inflammation control. The final anchor in the Suzuki Audit is perhaps the most difficult to quantify and the most powerful to understand. Ikigai is a Japanese concept that translates roughly as a reason to wake up. It is not ambition. It is not productivity. It is the quieter sense that one's presence in the world serves a function, that there are people who need you, work that calls you, a morning worth meeting. Population studies have found a meaningful correlation between a strong sense of life purpose and lower levels of C-reactive protein, a primary blood marker of systemic inflammation. This is not a soft finding. CRP is the same marker that cardiologists use to assess cardiovascular risk. The centenarians examined by Suzuki's team did not retire from life at 65. They remained embedded in community, in practice, in purpose, often well past the age of 90. Most Okinawan centenarians appear to have been healthier than the average person throughout their lives, remaining functionally independent until their mid-90s. Ikigai is considered one of the threads running through that independence. When the body believes it still has somewhere to be, it appears to invest differently in the cellular work of staying alive. Dr. Makoto Suzuki didn't find a fountain of youth when he arrived in Okinawa in 1976. He found a system of biological discipline, one that had been quietly operating for generations. Before any scientist arrived to measure it. The three leading killers in the Western world, heart disease, stroke, and cancer, do not disappear in Okinawa because of genetics alone. They are delayed and, in many cases, avoided through a daily architecture of habits so ordinary that they require no hospitals, no supplements, and no intervention programs. Green tea on an empty stomach, a purple sweet potato, a meal stopped before it was finished, stone steps climbed without thinking, a floor risen from every morning, a social group that has known your name since childhood, a reason to be here tomorrow. The data from the Okinawa Centenarian study is clear. Longevity is built on a foundation of metabolic rest, mechanical movement, and social protection. None of these anchors requires wealth. None requires technology. What they require is consistency and the understanding that the body is always listening to the signals you send it. The question is no longer whether the Suzuki Audit works. The question is which anchor you will put in place first.